Okay, welcome back from the break. Thank you, everybody. I love this. Everybody's on time, unlike some other camps that we do. And now I'll just keep talking until people get quiet. Talking. There we go. Okay, one quick announcement. We've had a couple of people ask about the presentation materials. The presentation materials will be posted after the camp. We'll get them as soon as we can from the speakers, and we will post those online. It's also being videotaped, so we'll post that as well. So you'll have all of the materials afterwards. So with that, this is our last presentation, and then we have a break for lunch. And I will turn it over to Martin, who is going to talk more about module rewriting the smart way.
Okay, thanks, Dawn. It's really impressive. You should see it above here. So roughly 240, 260 people approximately attending. Real big audience. Real cool. I really appreciate that. So even Dawn kindly forced me to send in a proposal for a talk, and yeah, she said, hey, you're from Berlin, I will accept your talk. So that is the reason why, well, it's partly a talk and partly a story, why I'm here upstairs, up on stage. So first, yeah, I'm from Berlin, so this is some kind like a local event. I don't have to travel and stay at hotels when I'm here, which is definitely a benefit for me. Besides this, I'm freelancer in system automation and Puppet configuration. I'm also the co-organizer of our local Berlin Puppet user group. We had a nice meetup and beer drinking event yesterday. So yeah, I hope I still remember everything which I wanted to tell you today. So why did I mention this is more a story and not a talk? I wrote down, okay, this is something I could tell you people about, and it's a story. In my actual project, we have been asked to implement a certain technology. It's a virtualization management solution. And we said, okay, we have a look around. We want to automate everything. They're heavily using Puppet already. We want to have it puppetized. We want to have it automated. And so we looked around and see whether there's a suitable module available. And this is the story about our search, our analysis, and how we started doing everything from scratch. You can also put it in another way. What is it that I'm going to tell you? It's about, okay, how does community work? How is shared modules? What is the background on developing shared modules? Which leads me to a short poll. Who's using modules? That's most of them. So the ones who haven't risen their hand, you know, standard library is also a module. So take care on that. It's also a module. Are there some people around who already contribute to modules? Either existing ones, of course, Raphael, you do it always. Yeah, I know that. Okay, only a few people around. So maybe most of you either don't use modules at all, which would be a pity, or you at least you don't develop modules, or you don't develop shared modules. You develop your private modules to declaring your infrastructure. So this talk is about, no, don't do that private. Try to do stuff in public and use public stuff which is already there and available. So the first thing is always, someone tells you, hi, I have a great idea. Mostly it's your boss. I have a great idea. Please solve that problem that comes with that idea and implement the solution. Yeah. Of course, you say, okay, I'm going to do it. Yeah, hopefully I have it finished by yesterday. No, tomorrow. Boss tells you yesterday. Yeah. So you will start thinking, okay, I've analyzed the technology. I know how to configure all the stuff that is needed. So how do I now start building a module? Where's the good point? Is it a Puppet module generate and then start from scratch doing everything? Where do I put my data? So something like passwords, configuration options and stuff like that. You have to think first prior you do your first line of code. Yeah, prior you do your first line of code. So one option is you're the guy in the company who knows Puppet. They've sent you to a training. They let you attend Puppet camps, for example, and they say, hey, you're now our expert. And you have to solve that problem. And you start coding at your desk or at home or at night, maybe always, and you try to develop a solution. So yeah, you're alone out there saying, okay, I haven't found anything on the Forge, I haven't found anything on GitHub which I can use directly. So you start coding Puppet like hell. yeah, this is hell, what you see over there, saying, okay, I have to configure a web server. So what is it I normally do? I install a package, I create symlinks, I copy over some files, yeah, I put that into a manifest. Put that into a class, put it into a module, and use my module. Yeah. Okay, 5 hours later, you can tell your boss, hey, cool, I've solved it. It gets configured automatically. Really cool, yeah. But who does reviews? Who does support you? Who does check whether there are errors inside? Who does the documentation of your nice module? So it's always you. So you're alone out there, which is, nah, that's not good. That's not good. Wouldn't be a job I appreciate, doing everything by myself. No, no. Normally I say I prefer to not work, because when I start working, my customers really have a problem. So I try to prevent work. And doing it the way I've shown it, this is work. I don't like work. There has to be a better way, a far more better way. And when it comes to Puppet, Puppet always is tightly related to some kind of DevOps mindset, which means think like a developer, even if you're operations, and dear developers, please try to think as operations to understand their troubles. So as an operations guy, this is my background, I say, okay, I now have to rethink how I work. I have to rethink now working like a developer. So a developer will not start writing an ORM mapper for accessing databases. He will use existing tool chains, which are out there. So DevOps means also, for an operations guy, understanding dev principles, take what is there, see whether it is working, analyze it, not just use it directly, analyze it, and see whether it fits and maybe needs an adoption, or whether you say, hey, this is cool, it's working already. So best option when you don't see Puppet as a tool, but when you see Puppet as a kind of framework. The other thing is, you're not alone out there. There are so many people around here, and most of you use Puppet, and most of you try to solve similar problems. You have to install databases, you have to install web servers, you have to configure backup machines, you have to configure SSH access, you have to configure firewalls. So this is mostly identical. It's not, let's say it's similar, not really identical, because everybody has another option on how he will configure a database. One says I need it on InnoDB, the other needs it on my ISAM, for example. So it's a similar problem which deals with a database. So maybe there are people around who said, hey, we already have found a solution. We have developed it internally. Okay, yeah, why not put it on GitHub? We have developed it internally, so other departments in the company can use our stuff. Mm-hmm. So you're like developers. So by the way, who is a developer here? Which is totally wrong. Who's writing Puppet code? Yeah, here I've got the number of developers. You're doing Puppet code. Writing Puppet code is a task you do as a developer. So you're using the same framework. You're developers using the same framework. There are out there sites which collect information for you and which show you how to use the stuff. And people may even blog about their successful module, and they made it available to public under a proper open source license, so you can even use it. People will, at conferences, for example, talk about their solutions. How do they use the stuff? What kind of other sources do you have? Yeah, first thing I always prefer is Puppet Forge. I just have to search for one term only, because Puppet and module is already included in the Puppet Forge. I just search for a technology, for example, where I need a Puppet module for. The next thing is GitHub. There are even more Puppet modules on GitHub which are not on the Forge, or maybe they are in a newer version on GitHub than on the Forge. And no, don't ask Microsoft for support, but it's meant ask your colleagues. Ask your colleagues, if you're a larger company, go talk to other people. Hey, you have the similar problem with that ERB system which we need to set up, and didn't you do some kind of automation for doing so? Did you make a Puppet module? So share it also within your company. And if you found the solution, so if you found the egg-laying, wool and milk-giving pig, die eierlegende Wollmilchsau, then please let me know. I need a tool which will wake me up in the morning, which will go to work for me, which will write the Puppet code prior I get the task. Please write Puppet code. I want a tool which fixes bugs automatically. If someone finds it, please share it with me. I definitely appreciate that. I could heavily use it. So if you found a module that suits your problem, which solves all your problems, you say, hey, it's cool. We have now 5 lines of Puppet code, and we have our system set up automatically. That's cool. That's really great. Then please provide feedback, either to the author telling him, hey, you did a cool job. It's working for us perfectly without any troubles at all. If you find it's not working for you because you are on a non-supported operating system, well, not throw it away. Support the developer by sending him options. Okay, this needs to get configured in that manner to have it also running on an OpenBSD, for example. Suppose there's a talk later on regarding OpenBSD. Eager to know what they had to do to get the stuff working on OpenBSD. If you find some issues or let's say some flags which you cannot enable or disable but which you need, so implement them and send them back to upstream, maybe as a patch even. If you find a bug, please at least write a bug report. That's the least you can do. So when reusing modules, you will not start like install package Apache manage configuration file for Apache 2 or httpd.conf. You will not run execs like a2mod enable or stuff like that. No, you will use existing modules, which are already out there, which are tested. Hopefully they are tested. So, but is this reality? Is there really stuff outside which you can easily use? So, and this is now the story. We were checking whether there's already a module available which does at least a certain part of what we want to configure. And we went to the Forge, we were searching for the software, and we found the module. And we said, hey, great, there's a module available. And there's a GitHub project behind it. Hey, cool, let's check out that GitHub project. Let's see how the module is working internally. We took a look at the module, and we were very, very unhappy with the module. It was not supporting newer versions of the software. It was not supporting everything you can configure, especially options we were needing. This was shortly, when we found it out shortly prior last year's PuppetConf. And I saw who's the upstream author, and I knew, okay, I don't need to nag him right now. He's very, very busy with PuppetConf, but I will meet him on PuppetConf anyway and will ask him there. And during PuppetConf, we have been outside having a cigarette, and I asked him, hey, do you know your module? And he said, oh, yeah, oh, that one. Yeah, it's more like a prototype. Do yourself a favor, don't use that module. Rewrite it from scratch. Start completely new. I did lots of stuff wrong. Don't take care on that module. I'll throw it away. Okay. So we now started writing public code. Well, first we were thinking about how do we do it? What are the concepts behind writing a shared module which can be used by other people? So the first thing we recognized, we want to have it parameterized. We want to have switches where we can switch on and off certain functionality because other users may not need them, because we want to separate them amongst multiple servers, but we want one shared modules available which we can use on multiple servers. When you do a shared modules, always keep in mind data separation. You don't want your MySQL root password somewhere appear on GitHub. Maybe you want, but so I would put my SSH public key on GitHub. Yeah. I'd like to log in into all systems that get managed. Yeah, that's fine, but not my private one. This is the one I keep for me. So always keep in mind data separation. Don't put data into shared modules. Also, don't force your users of your module. Which data tool are they using in the background? We've seen one here from Gear with Hira, using Hira, the Hira function, fetching modules from Hira, fetching parameters from Hira. Maybe there's another tool around. Maybe a company says, no, we have everything inside our big database where we store information of all our systems, and there we have the configuration for our data, and there we fetch the data from. So they have some kind of another ENC. So don't force your users on a special solution. Let it open. When you start working, try to work as early as possible on a public repository. Why? It makes you visible, that there is something available already. So if other users are also looking for, I need a module for software x.y, yeah, they can find it immediately, at least on GitHub. Maybe it's not release ready for having it on the Forge, but you can have it on GitHub already. So other users can find it, they can contribute. They can contribute as long as you provide a proper license. So if you put in a license like no one else is allowed to modify my code and you have to pay me a certain fee depending on how many lines in the manifest my modules generate, you first will have troubles collecting your money because you don't know it and other people will refuse working together with you. So please use a proper open source license. When you have written your shared module, you have parameterized it, you have said it's good enough, you have tested everything, like RSpec testing. And you say, okay, now I'm building another module. I'm building a wrapper module. Ger has mentioned it as roles, as far as I've seen in his talk. He said, build roles. So there are modules which are already there. It's the Puppet Labs Apache module. It's the Puppet Labs MySQL or NTP module. There are modules from other people around who also do shareable modules. And you don't modify these modules. You will use them and wrap them in some kind of a private module. This is the module where you will take care on collecting the information from your data. So for your variables, what is my MySQL root password or MySQL database name? When you want to know more about this separation, check in the internet for Puppet roles and profiles. There are some websites which will explain it a little bit more in detail on how to separate private information, how to build up roles for your for your servers. Okay, so now we have around about 260 developers here. So these developers are now open source developers. Being an open source developer not just means, okay, I can put it on my business card, I'm now an open source developer. Of course, you can do it, yes. But it also brings a new responsibility. You have put code into the internet which other people may use. So it's your responsibility on taking care that the code works, that the code will not destroy other people's servers. It's your responsibility. You have to take care. Always keep in mind when you develop stuff, you're coding for the internet. You're not coding for yourself, you're coding for the internet. Other users may have similar problems, not identical problems. Right from the beginning, as long as you are capable in doing so, try to support as many as different distributions as possible. First start with the big ones. When you make it public, try to build somehow a community around your module. So what we learned in our project, we saw people were forking the module. And of course we were asking them, so hey, we saw you forked the module. Is there anything you would like to comment? Is there any feedback for us? So they learned, okay, we are interested in what other people who forked our module, we are interested in their opinion about the module. Is it usable for them? Does it break certain stuff? Is the documentation fine? Do they have some patches which we haven't put inside because we didn't knew about certain features because they are of no interest for us, but maybe for other users? So when someone sends you a pull request and says, hey, I've built in a new feature and I even written the tests for that feature and the build chain is green, review those pull requests and please review them in time. Don't let them lying around for 3 or 4 months. This will make the forker saying, okay, upstream is not responsive, so I will maintain my own copy of code. By the way, what you see here, these two terminal screenshots, the one in the background, this is our public, take care, public and private. This is the public module, and there you see we have the class and we have parameters, and we try to provide sane defaults for our module, where we say, okay, if someone just includes our module, it will at least work somehow. Maybe not as expected, I don't know, but we have a functional system afterwards. And the one you see in front is the one where we will use our public module. This is the private module where we collect all the data. So take your time to review and implement new functionality, improvements. Immediately start working on writing tests, writing proper tests. Write a documentation. You don't want every user to review all your code. I prefer doing so because I want to know what type of code do I put into my production system. Other users say, okay, I will do a rough review, seeing that they have no ugly exec resources inside, which will delete recursively my whole data structure. Okay, then I'm fine with that. I see that they don't put in somehow unknown, ugly repositories, for example, and install some unknown software for me. Yeah, so I will write a documentation and provide examples on how to use my module. Do the basic one in the beginning, just include our new module. That's it, full stop. If you want to have certain functionalities switched on and off, explain all your parameters and provide some examples on how to use it. And did I already mention that you write tests? Write more tests. Definitely. Best thing, of course, you can do, use your own code. So if you use it, you will learn what is not working. Of course, it's difficult when you have worked in one company and you switched over to another one and you still want to maintain that code and the other company is saying, no, we don't use that piece of software around here. Maybe then it's time to give the project to someone else who is actively working on it. So the first thing is try to work smart, not hard. Don't try to write hundreds of millions of Puppet code which do stuff which is already done by other modules. Always take care on good documentation. Put in examples, put in the tests. If you have the module finished and you say, hey, this is now working for us, it's a cool module, write blog posts. Write blog posts on your company blog, on the, who did the software? Is it an open source project? Yeah, great, they will have a blog somehow, they will have a mailing list. Let the people know, hey, we've taken care on automating the installation of your great software. People will be very, very grateful for having this information that they say, oh yeah, we didn't know that it could be done automatically, that's cool, that's great. Mention your company and even put the link to the job site, yes, of course. So, as open source developer, please be responsible. Take care, be responsive and responsible. So if someone asks you questions about the module, hey, I have trouble using it in that manner, but it's documented that it is usable in that manner, take care on that problem. Review other users' contribution. See, wow, I saw a pull request now, and he's doing some weird stuff. Okay, I need to understand that, what he's doing. So get in contact with him, ask him, okay, what does this pull request do? Ah, it configures the software in what manner? Ah, performance tuning. Oh, we hadn't that in mind. Yeah, that's cool, that's great. So let's review it and put it into our public module. When you have long-term people working and you see, oh, they're doing good pull requests, they are writing the tests for the pull requests, they're taking care that they have green build chains also on their pull requests, yeah, why not give them access to the repository directly? Yeah, cool, you can go on vacation and someone else is taking care. That's great. I always expect people to shout out loud right now. Never refactor. One of the last slides was permanently refactor, approximately, always refactor. And now this guy is standing in front of you and saying, never refactor? Are they completely insane around here when they're on stage? Depends. The never refactor stuff is meant to, you have old Puppet code. We had some people around here using Puppet for 3 or 4 years approximately. Maybe there's even some kind of a system hidden behind a wall. There's just an Ethernet cable going through the wall where they say, oh, this is our old Puppet master. It's running 0.25 anything at all. So you have real old Puppet code around. Don't start refactoring old Puppet code. This makes no sense. If you find something like that which will, you can test it. You can test it. Test it with different Puppet version. And if you see it breaks horrible, it throws so many errors, then please just take a look whether there's something important for you inside of that old module. And maybe you say, oh, the type and the provider stuff which we have built in there, this is really cool. This is one we can reuse. But all these stuff we put around, oh, we have written an own function for doing data lookup in, do you know where this MySQL database is running where we're looking on? Okay. So yeah, don't refactor. This one is, this is definitely a thing where you will say, restart from scratch. This will also prevent to have old bugs in the new module. Always keep in mind, your boss will always come up with new ideas. And even worse thing, your boss's bosses might also have ideas. So take care on the module to keep it flexible. Do small snippets only. Don't do a code where you say to your internal IT admin, hey, didn't we have that 9-needle printer and the endless paper around? I want to print out my module and I want to have it on one paper. Yes, it's 300 meters long, but it's okay. I have it as one piece of paper at least. Doesn't sound like a good module. Doesn't sound like a good class. Doesn't sound like a good manifest. Always take care, parameterize everything. Just due to the reason that you're using that piece of software in a specific way, doesn't mean that other users want to use it in the same way. So use some kind of flags, for example, to switch certain things on and off. Don't force users, if you say, I want to use eYAML only, and I force users to use eYAML. And I'm only working with hashes. I don't use variables as standard text, and I don't use arrays. I want to use hashes. So you're always using the hira-hash function. It will force users having about the way how they store their private information. Don't force users into a way how to store their private information. Let them choose. Again, use a proper open source license. It will make it easier for other companies, especially when there are big companies. Big companies normally always have a department where they have put in all the lawyers. And of course, sometimes you will get a review and lawyers will say, where did you get that piece of software from? Is it authorized? Can we use it? Do we have a license for that? And you can say, hey, yes, here, it's Apache version 2 license. We may use it. It's absolutely fine. We may even modify it. It's absolutely fine. Try to keep the stuff you're doing as simple as possible. So don't try to build one module which does everything with that piece of software. Try to separate it. It's like when you do front-end and back-end, for example. You won't write one module that configures front-end and back-end. Maybe you want to separate it to different servers. So split it. Split it also in the modules. And then you say, okay, on this system, I'm also using the back-end part of my module, of the shared module. And on that system, I'm installing the front-end part of my shared module. And I really like the sentence from Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, so that perfection is achieved only when you see there is nothing more left to take away prior it breaks functionality. Since some people were always putting up questions afterwards, I decided to even add some more information. It was when people were asking me, hey, how do you find modules? What is a proper module? What makes a proper modules? So it's not now about writing modules or rewriting modules. It's about where to look, where to find. So this will be mostly screenshots. I learned that it's maybe the least rows will have difficulties. I try to explain what's on there. So in this example, I went to the module Forge because I'm looking for a Tomcat module. So I said, hey, dear Forge, tell me about the existing Tomcat modules which have at least the word Tomcat somehow in their content inside. And then I found a module from a user named Multiverse. Sounds great. Maybe it's supporting different platforms. Let's have a look on it. And it's a module, hopefully. Yeah, it still is version 001. Maybe he forgot to bump the version when he says, this is cool, it's working. Try to take care on proper versions when you put it on the Forge. And here's the Tomcat module. Cool. And it's written with a capital T. Do you guys from Puppet Labs have Puppet Forge developers around here? Because this one is not working at all, I suppose due to the capital T in the module name. It's okay, it's okay. I will not blame you, it's okay. user's fault, uploading it in the wrong manner. Okay, so the multiverse is not working. Cool. There's another one, CloudFront. Yeah, let's use that one. So let's see, what is it? And we see, there's the Forge site showing all this stuff like documentation. There's for copy and pasting, Puppet module install command to have it automatically installed onto a server. Did I mention don't use the Puppet module tool as root? Use it as a user. It will put your modules in the first time in your home directory .puppet/modules, so you have it there for review and inspection. What I always prefer is I don't want to download that stuff directly, because when there are dependencies on other modules inside that, so that modules need other modules. There are some users around, some module developers who say we're doing a bunch of modules. And we have certain codes which we will use in all our modules, so we build something like a common module, which we will just say we need that module to be available. So take care, it also fetches dependencies. What I always like is the project URL. See, okay, who is upstream? I want to see a repository. Oh. So what kind of software is this where the upstream author already decided to delete the repository on GitHub? Do I want to have that code on my platform? Reviewing it carefully when installing it with the Puppet module tool. Okay. Let's look for something different. This is a search for a S-tunnel module. I need to set up some S-tunnels. So yeah, the guys over there, they don't know how to deal with VPN. They provided us SSH access. So we'll run S-tunnels over there. Okay. It's again checking for the project URL. And on GitHub, I immediately see, hey, this is a forked module. It's forked from Puppet Labs S-tunnel module. So this would now be a case where I say, okay, now I want to inspect deeply what are the differences between these two modules. Was Puppet, is it just a fork? And since it was not on the Forge, he decided to put his fork into the Puppet Forge. Was the upstream author a little bit unresponsive? So he decided, okay, I've put the patch into my module and I've uploaded it to the Forge. I don't know. This is something I would now need to check by verifying those both Git repositories. Going back to the Tomcat module, at least I found one. It's the camp to camp, I suppose. Huh? Yeah, it's the camp to camp module. Yeah, Raphael, you're happy. Yeah, good. It's one of the developers, I suppose, at least for Augeas. Maybe he contributed even to that one. And what makes a good module from my perspective? So what is it that I'm looking for? The first thing I'm taking care of is there a spec directory? At least a spec directory. I will now dig into that directory and see, did the author also put tests into that directory? I will look for a .fixtures YAML. There I can see which dependencies does that module have. Is it standard library only, or does it even need more stuff, like Puppet Labs Java, for example? Well, it's a Tomcat. I will look at the .travis YAML file. Who knows what Travis is? Okay, not so many. Okay. Travis is a automated test run environment where it's free for open source developers, where you can put in information, please test that piece of software on the following distributions, on the following architectures. When it comes to Ruby development, you can say, please test it on the following architectures with one after the other with the following Ruby versions. So you can test it with Ruby 1.8, you can test it with Ruby 1.9, and you can test it with Ruby 2. When it comes to Puppet modules, you can even specify, please test that module against different versions of Puppet. So test it against the 2.6, 2.7, 3, 3.4, 3.5 series of Puppet to see that it's always at least compiling a proper catalog. So run the RSpec tests. You can identify projects which use the Travis CI when they have beneath, mostly the people put it in there in the documentation, the link to the Travis CI. It's on the lower left corner, the round circle around that green slider. And if the build fails on any of your aggregations of Ruby versions and Puppet versions, it will switch to red by then. And another thing I'm taking care of is, there are open pull requests. How long are they open? are they really something important? Is someone telling me, oh, you're with that, when you do it in that manner, you're doing a security break inside your Tomcat module? Maybe I want to review that pull request and vote for it and tell the upstream, hey, please take care, this is an important pull request. Why haven't you already looked on that pull request and verified it's working also in your environment? So this is the basic stuff. I will not go into RSpec testing. Don't know whether we have another talk about that one. Maybe not. No. Okay, so there are lots of talks around test-driven development and Puppet. You will search for RSpec Puppet, you will find an introduction to how RSpec Puppet works, and there's enough documentation around in the internet, and the best thing you can do is look what they're doing inside on existing modules inside the spec directory, so you know how to write good tests. So, this is the story of how we try to write a public, shareable module without private data inside, make it usable in a manner for other users on other platforms with other ideas on how to deal with that software. Questions? I either explained everything in a way so it was completely understandable, or I did it in a way where you even don't got a word of what I was telling you. So when it comes to Ruby versions, who's running Puppet on Ruby 1.9? Wow, wow. Who's running Puppet on Ruby 2? Wow, 1, 2, 3, okay. So the rest, you either don't know what Ruby version, or let's check it. Who's running Puppet on Ruby 1.8? Almost everybody, I assume, okay. Since so many open source users are around here, who's running Puppet on Ruby 1.8.7 with a patch level below 299? There's a certain reason for that question. While we were doing some implementation stuff with the open source Puppet on a CentOS or Red Hat Enterprise Linux system, and we found out that we have so many troubles on the master. It consumes such a large amount of memory, and we were wondering what the hell is happening there. And the first thing we were tweaking the passenger options. Don't keep a process that long open, spawn a little bit more to have the load properly handled by all the nodes that request information. And I saw somehow in a mailing list post, and I said, okay, this seems to be one of the guys who knows about that, and it was the Puppet Labs CTO with the glasses and the earrings, Nigel. And I was asking on the community and said, hey Nigel, you did a post about there. Is there something you ever seen graphs like that one? So we did some graphing and fetching some data, historical data, and he immediately said, okay, what kind of Ruby versions are you using? It's a Red Hat Enterprise thing. Yeah, it's a Red Hat Enterprise thing. Okay, don't use Ruby version 1.8.7 below patch level 299. It has a built-in memory leak. Okay. So that is the reason why I'm asking for that specific version. No more questions so far. Everybody is happy. Everybody understood what I was telling. Who will start writing shared modules just because I gave the talk here? Oh, well, at least 2. Yeah, cool. That's great. That's great. Okay, in this case, I'm just only a couple of minutes too early. Yeah, question, of course.
You actually ended up writing a public module?
Yeah. So a shared, you mean a shared module?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One that's on GitHub and all the things that you told us about.
One that's on GitHub, one that has the Travis CI, one that has RSpec tests included, one that is used at the project where I'm actually working, one where we have already forks and pull requests from other peoples. Yes. So this is the reason why I said this is not really a talk, it's more like a story. Because, yeah, it's...
You put it up on the last slide.
because it's it said it's a virtualization management framework, and yeah, so it's Open Nebula module what we're doing there. So it's not the VMware stuff; it's another tool to manage private virtual clouds. Yeah, and it's not yet on GitHub on the Forge. So people decided, no, we're not that complete, so that we can put it on the Forge. They only want to have they don't want to put early versions on the Forge. We have it on GitHub available. We tag it already there with the versions, where we say, okay, this is now stable enough for us to put it into our staging environments. Then we're fine with that. But we want to have the final version available on the Forge only when we say, okay, now we are absolutely sure this is working and it's complete. No more questions.
Thank you, Martin.